Taurus, the person you considered your safe haven in the family is about to reveal a side that will shatter everything you believed about them. While you thought you knew every nuance of this person's character, every reaction, every value, every moral line they would never cross, they were living a double life that will shake the foundations of your perception of family, loyalty, and truth. The conflict that's coming isn't the kind that can be resolved with a frank conversation or an apology. It's the kind that rewrites family history, forcing you to rethink every memory, every moment of trust, every time you defended this person against others who might see what you refused to see. There's a storm brewing in the heart of your family, and in the eye of it sits your brother or sister, the person who has always been your beacon of emotional stability amidst the family chaos. The one you called when you needed advice, who knew your deepest secrets, who shared childhood stories with you that only the two of you remembered. This person built such a solid image of trustworthiness that you never questioned their motives, never doubted their words, never investigated the inconsistencies that you now realize were always there, whispering the truth you didn't want to hear. But the universe has a cruel way of exposing long-buried truths. The approaching family conflict is like an earthquake that will shake the ground beneath your feet, revealing fault lines that have existed for years, but that you've all learned to ignore. And when the smoke clears, when the wreckage is catalogued, you'll discover that the person you trusted most in your family is the same one who has been manipulating situations, sowing seeds of discord among other relatives, and using intimate information you shared to fuel dramas that seem to arise out of nowhere. Your brother or sister, that person you defended at Sunday lunches when other family members whispered criticism, whom you supported in difficult times, believing they were injustices of fate, whom you embraced in moments of vulnerability, believing you were comforting someone pure of heart, has been operating with an agenda you never suspected. Every tear shed on your shoulder was calculated. Every cry for help was strategic. Every moment of intimacy was an opportunity to glean information that would later be used in ways you never imagined. The discovery will come devastatingly, likely through a third party who can no longer keep the secret, or through evidence you stumble upon by chance. It could be an unsent message you see on their phone. It could be a conversation you overhear. It could be a distant relative who finally musters the courage to tell you what they've always known, but never said for fear of destroying the family. And when this revelation explodes into your reality, you'll feel like the ground has disappeared from under your feet. The most painful part won't be discovering that your brother or sister lied to you. It'll be realizing that you were the only one who didn't know. That other family members already suspected, already connected the dots, already understood why certain situations always escalated when this person was around. You'll discover that your blind trust was used as a shield, that your fierce loyalty served to protect someone who didn't deserve protection, that your Taurian tendency to believe in the fundamental goodness of people was transformed into vulnerability. A Taurus, as you absorb these words, a part of you is already recognizing specific situations, isn't it? Moments where something didn't quite add up, but which you rationally explained because you couldn't conceive of someone so close to you being so calculating. Memories that now throb with an unease you've always pushed to the back of your mind. Conversations where that person's reactions seemed slightly disproportionate or out of context, but which you attributed to stress or the circumstances. Your Taurian mind, always seeking stability and harmony, created narratives to justify inconsistencies that your intuition knew were wrong. How many times have you felt a pit in your stomach during certain interactions with this person, but ignored it because you didn't want to admit that something was fundamentally wrong in the family dynamic you valued so much? How many times have you defended this person's questionable behavior to other family members, believing you were protecting someone misunderstood? The revelation that's coming will show that you weren't protecting someone misunderstood. You were protecting someone who perfectly understood how to manipulate your kindness, your need to keep the family together, your tendency to always give the benefit of the doubt. This person studied your emotional patterns, mapped your vulnerabilities, and identified exactly which strings to pull to keep you as their unconditional protector and ally. If you're feeling a tightness in your chest right now, if you've recognized situations in your own family, if you've ever had that feeling that something wasn't right, but could never quite pinpoint what it was, I need you to stop for a second. You're not alone in this pain. Thousands of Tauruses go through the devastating experience of discovering that someone in their family isn't who they seem. And the feeling of having been deceived by the person we trusted most is a wound that cuts deep. Leave a comment now sharing just this. I always knew that, but I never wanted to admit it. No need to go into details, no need to expose anyone. Just this simple sentence. Because when you write this, you're validating your intuition, which has been ignored for so long. And by doing so, you're helping other Tauruses recognize that they too have the right to trust the signs that have always been there. Your pain matters. Your perception has always been more accurate than you've allowed yourself to believe. And by sharing, you're creating a safe space where others can recognize that they're not crazy, not paranoid, not exaggerating. Sometimes, trusting what we feel is the first step in protecting ourselves from those who should never have access to our hearts. The discovery about your brother or sister will arrive accompanied by an avalanche of recontextualized memories. You'll recall specific situations where other family members tried to warn you about strange behavior, but which you interpreted as jealousy, envy, or gossip. You'll recall moments when cousins, uncles, or grandparents made comments that seemed unfair at the time, but now make perfect sense. You'll realize that you weren't the only one manipulated, but you were the only one who refused to see it. The family conflict that will expose everything will begin seemingly small. It could be an argument about inheritance, caring for an elderly relative, family financial responsibilities, or planning a major celebration. Something that should be resolved through civilized dialogue will escalate disproportionately because your sister or brother will reveal a side you've never seen before. Manipulative, cruel, and extremely selfish. During this discussion, you'll hear words coming out of this person's mouth that will shock you to the core. Opinions about other family members that are completely different from what they've always expressed to you. Selfish motivations presented as completely normal and justified. An emotional coldness that will contrast sharply with the caring person you thought you knew. And then you'll realize that the caring person was always a mask, used specifically on you because you were useful in some way. The mask will fall completely when this person realizes they no longer need it, or when they feel cornered and attacked in the family conflict. And when this happens, you'll see not only who they really are, but also how they truly see you. Perhaps they see you as naive, easily manipulated, useful for their purposes, but unworthy of real respect. Perhaps they've always felt a secret superiority for being able to deceive you so easily. Perhaps they've laughed at your trust behind both of your backs. Taurus, what will devastate you most deeply isn't the discovery of duplicity itself. It's realizing how many years of your life were built on a false foundation. How many important decisions you made based on advice from someone with their own agenda. How many times you chose to side with that person over other family members who may have been right all along. How many opportunities you missed to see the truth because you were so invested in maintaining the idealized image you had of that relationship. You'll discover that past family conflicts, which seem to arise out of nowhere or escalate for no apparent reason, were actually manipulated behind the scenes by this person. That arguments you mediated, trying to be the peacemaker, were instigated by someone who benefited from the chaos. That the family harmony you worked so hard to maintain was being systematically sabotaged by the person you trusted most. The revelation will come in waves. First, you'll uncover a specific lie. Then, as you investigate that lie, you'll uncover others and others. until you realize that virtually everything you believed about this person was a carefully crafted construct designed to keep you exactly where they needed you, as protector, defender, and source of emotional and perhaps financial support. Your sister or brother will likely attempt damage control when they realize you've discovered the truth. They may try to minimize, explain, and justify. They may try to turn the tables and make you feel guilty for questioning family loyalty. They may use emotional tactics that have always worked in the past: tears, appeals to happy childhood memories, promises of change. But now, you'll be able to see through these tactics because you finally understand that they are exactly that, tactics. The most painful part of this entire process will be accepting that you need to completely redefine your relationship with this person. You will no longer be able to trust them as a confessor. You will no longer be able to ask for important advice. You will no longer be able to share vulnerabilities without wondering how that information will be used later. The intimacy you've built over the years will need to be completely recalibrated if it is to survive. Taurus, you'll also discover that your natural tendency to create stability and harmony has been systematically used against you. Every time you suggested letting bygones be bygones and moving on after family conflicts, you were inadvertently protecting someone who intentionally created those conflicts. Every time you appealed to keeping the family together, you were being manipulated by someone who used that unity as a camouflage for destructive behavior. The person you discover your brother or sister really is may shock you by being the complete opposite of everything you believed. Where you saw generosity, there was calculation. Where you saw vulnerability, there was manipulation. Where you saw genuine familial love, there was strategic use of emotional bonds. And most disturbingly, you'll realize this person is extraordinarily good at acting, so good that they managed to fool you for years. But here's what you need to understand. Her ability to deceive you says nothing about your intelligence or your capacity for perception. It says everything about the sophistication of the manipulation used against you. People who grow up in the same household, who share stories and vulnerabilities since childhood, who know your fears and hopes intimately, have access to information that can be used in devastatingly effective ways by those with malicious intent. The family conflict that exposes everything will be cathartic in a way you can't imagine right now. It will hurt intensely in the moment, but it will clear the air of lies that have been poisoning the family dynamic for years. Other relatives who always knew or suspected the truth will finally feel free to speak out. Confusing situations from the past will finally make sense, and you'll discover you weren't crazy when you felt certain things didn't add up. Discovering the truth about this person will teach you painful but necessary lessons about boundaries, the difference between healthy family loyalty and toxic complicity, and how your kindness can be exploited if you're not careful. You'll learn that questioning inconsistent behavior doesn't make you suspicious or paranoid. It makes you self-respecting enough to demand honest treatment. As you process this revelation, you'll undergo a complete re-evaluation of your family history. You'll look at old photographs and wonder what was really going on behind the smiles. You'll revisit conversations and perceive layers of meaning you couldn't grasp at the time. You'll understand why certain family members kept their distance or seemed tense at family gatherings. Taurus, what will most impact you from this experience is realizing how your need for stability and predictability was used to blind you to reality. Whenever you felt something was wrong, your natural tendency was to seek explanations that would restore a sense of security, rather than investigating further. This wasn't weakness. It was an emotional survival strategy. But now you know that sometimes true security comes from facing uncomfortable truths. The person you discover is your sister or brother may, after exposure, try to regain your trust through superficial behavioral changes. They may try to present themselves as someone who learned from their mistakes or who was going through a difficult time. But you will have already learned the difference between genuine change and a performance to regain access to the emotional resources you represent. The family conflict that will reveal all this won't just be about the superficial issue that started it. It will be about years of repressed resentment, exposed manipulation, and finally spoken truths. It will be a family purgatory, where each member will have to decide whether to continue participating in dynamics based on lies, or whether they are willing to rebuild relationships on more honest foundations. You'll discover that some family members have always known the truth about this person, but kept quiet to avoid conflict or because they didn't believe you would be willing to listen. This discovery will make you question how many other important truths may be being hidden from you, how many other family dynamics you may be misinterpreting, but it will also show you that your capacity for love and trust, even when exploited, is not a weakness that needs to be eliminated. It's a strength that needs to be protected by sharper discernment. You don't need to become suspicious or closed off. You just need to apply your emotional generosity more wisely. The upside of this devastating revelation is that you'll discover who in your family truly deserves your trust and loyalty. Some relatives you may have taken for granted will reveal themselves as genuine sources of support and honesty. Relationships that may have been stagnant due to this person's negative influence will have a chance to blossom on healthier foundations. Taurus, when all this is resolved, when the masks have fallen, when the truths have been exposed, when each person has shown their true character during the crisis, you will find yourself in a completely different position within the family dynamic. No longer as the naive mediator trying to keep the peace at any cost, but as someone who understands the difference between real harmony and forced harmony. Coming out about your brother or sister will force you to completely redefine what family means to you. It will teach you that blood ties don't guarantee loyalty, that physical proximity doesn't guarantee true emotional intimacy, that shared stories can be interpreted in completely different ways by different people. But it will also show you that it's possible to build family bonds based on conscious choice, mutual respect, and complete honesty. The coming conflict will be painful, but it will also be liberating. It will free you from the obligation to maintain relationships that drain your energy. It will free you from the guilt of questioning dynamics that have always felt wrong. It will free you to invest your love and trust in people who truly deserve these precious gifts. When you look back years after this revelation, you'll realize it marked the beginning of a much more authentic phase of your life. A phase where you stopped accepting harmful behavior in the name of family harmony. A phase where you learned to distinguish between people who love you for who you are and those who like you for what you do for them. A phase where your natural generosity was protected by wisdom and discernment. Discovering the truth about this person will hurt like a deep wound at first, but it will heal like a powerful antibiotic that eliminates an infection that has been silently spreading throughout your family life. And when the healing is complete, you will be not only stronger but also more capable of creating and maintaining genuinely healthy relationships. If you've made it this far, if you've recognized your own story between the lines of this narrative, if you've felt that familiar tightness in your chest that comes when your deepest truth is touched, know that you are not alone. Know that your intuition has always been right, even when you chose to ignore it, and know that having the courage to face uncomfortable truths about people we love is one of the most courageous and necessary acts we can perform. Share this video with other Tauruses who may be experiencing similar situations. Subscribe to the channel for more guidance on navigating complex family conflicts, establishing healthy boundaries with manipulative relatives, and rebuilding your confidence in your own perception after discovering you've been deceived for so long. Remember, the truth may hurt temporarily, but a lie hurts forever. The coming family conflict will expose who truly deserves to be in your life and who was just taking advantage of your kindness. And when the dust settles, you'll discover that your real family is made up of people who truly love you, not by accident of birth.